Jacob Seelman, Raceface Digital. We know you've had race speed, Michael, but was the qualifying pace a surprise to you guys at all? I mean, we know the Chevys have had so much pace in 500 qualifying the last couple of years. Did this surprise you at all?
Yes, it did surprise me. If you asked my crew chief, Travis Peterson, he wouldn't have been surprised. We were actually joking a lot today because we put a lot of emphasis into having as much speed as we could build into our Daytona 500 car down here. And we always talk about it like, oh yeah, we'll see where we stack up, and usually we'll even do a little whiteboard pick of where we think we're going to qualify. And super speedway qualifying typically hasn't been a strength for us, but we haven't worried too much about it because our cars always race really well. But Travis today, he's like, this is everything I have. If we don't qualify well today, I am done with super speedway racing qualifying. I'm not putting any more effort into it anymore. So it just shows you the level of intensity that was, everybody at front row put into tonight, to having as much speed as we can. Almost like we wanted to prove to ourselves, if we really put our mind to it, can we do it? And then, obviously, these dark horse Mustangs are fast. I mean, to lock out the front row with two Ford Mustangs is great. Everybody at Roush Yates Engine Shop, and all the things that it takes to make race cars go fast. But when it comes to the details that the guys did at the shop, they did a really good job. And so that it's a cool moment. It's cool for them to have that moment. It stinks that Joey beat us for the pole. But I'm super proud of the effort. It's a cool experience for us to be in a spot that we're not typically in.
You proved a couple years ago that you can win this race from anywhere, but other than the cool part of being on the front row Sunday when you come down to green, how much does this really do for your race, if anything at all?
Well, it does matter for sure. I mean, there's so much that can happen in a 500-mile race. I mean, we all know that. Um, but we've also seen with this next gen car that track position is important, and it's not always easy to get. It's not easy to go from the back to the front. I mean, a couple of guys have done it successfully, but it's very tough to move from the back to the front, just because the pack doesn't build and the draft doesn't build quite like it did with the older car. And then, also too, the guys with different strategies of saving fuel and pitting with your manufacturers, and all that becomes very complicated when you're trying to come through the pack. So being up front and kind of controlling your own destiny, I think is really important for this race, for all of it. Um, but it's not the end all be all. We all know that, right? You can have maybe one or two little blemishes throughout that 500 and still be okay. It's just harder now than it used to be.
All right, go to Steven and then Bob.
Steven, StumpFronters.com. Michael, that would have been your first pull until Joey beat you at the last second.
I know. What a turd.
But I guess how do you balance being disappointed there, but also the relief and the I guess being locked in the front row and how that makes tomorrow easier.
Yeah, so I am thrilled for the front row. It would have been more fun to have the pole and to get my first career pole in the Cup Series. But honestly, it's such a cool accomplishment for our team that it doesn't feel that disappointing, right? To not get the pole. The the other side of it too, which I didn't realize, I should have paid more attention, but they're like, oh, you got to go to Victory Lane. Victory Lane? What do you mean go to Victory Lane? Like, they bring the front row in there, you even get a trophy, right? So that's pretty cool, because normally in our sport, it's only the winner that gets a trophy, right? So it was neat to see that, and makes it sting a little less, right? At least you got something to show for it. But like I said, I'm not disappointed. I mean, it would have been special and it would have been a little bit cooler, but I'm very proud of everybody at Front Row Motorsports and what they were able to do and how fast our car was.
Going into the duels tomorrow, this will be a first for you in that you have the spot locked, but
Yeah, I have no idea what.
yeah, I was gonna say, is there like a balance between conserving the car, but at the same time, being able to race and get
I'm not sure yet.
and also go for the up to 10 points available by finishing top.
Yeah, so I don't know. And honestly, obviously I'm driving the car, right? But it's going to be a group decision. We'll talk about it tonight and tomorrow with, my crew chief and competition director, Seth Barber, and Jerry Freeze, and my owner, Bob Jenkins, and just kind of get a feel for what they're thinking. So I don't want to tell you one way or another because I really don't know. My gut is go try to win a trophy and get 10 points if you can, and we got a fast race car, so why not go for it and do that? But there are some complications, right? If you go out there and tear it up, and the last thing we need to do is give up a front row spot and have to go to a backup. Sometimes you can control that, sometimes you can't. We'll run through all those scenarios tonight of what we think is the best decision. Like I said, I haven't been in this spot before, so I don't want to mislead you on what I think we're going to do. A lot of it is going to have to do with Travis and I's conversation tonight on, okay, how bad is this thing going to drive tomorrow? Because obviously he knows a lot of what we had to do to get speed in it. Some of those things we might not be able to undo tomorrow night, and it might be a handful, right? So we'll have to talk about that. We'll probably have to feel it out a little bit and see how it drives. But I really don't think I think just like in years past, we didn't do anything so far out of the box that we won't be able to race tomorrow night if we decide to do that. I hope.
Bob Cockris, Fox Sports. He may tell you to go to the back and push Kaz.
Is Kaz in my race? Do you know? Yes? Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, so that's definitely a big part of it. And that will be a part of it. I mean, it'll be very important to get that 36 in the race tomorrow night. And anything that we can do to help him do that, we're going to try to do. For a lot of reasons. One is 3 is better than 2 when it comes down to needing teammates and working together at the end of these races. And, unfortunately, we had a little mechanical issue on that 36 car, but it's going to have plenty of speed. So we just need to make sure that we do everything we can to help him get in. And so that's another variable that we'll talk about tonight. I was wondering how that was going to play out. And is Todd in ours too? Because, Bob, if Todd's in there, I'm putting the pressure on Todd and just telling him, hey, buddy, it's your job this time.
Let's see.
No? Okay.
No. But I am curious, Kaz had the gear shift issue. Like, were you concerned that you might have the same issue?
Yes and no. We definitely were like, uh-oh. But, one thing that we do is we take pictures of everything that leaves the shop. And so very quickly we were able to go through our library and say, nope, it's in, tight, we're good, without touching the car, right? And so there are processes in place and procedures in place for that. I think the challenge there was probably sort of not last minute, but late in the game, deciding to pull the trigger on that 36 and getting everything up and running and taking guys from the shop that aren't typically on the road and all those things. So it throws some variables in there. And so, but we felt pretty confident that everything was fine on the 34 and 38. Yeah. Yep.
All right, we're going to go to Jerry Jordan and then Dustin Long.
Jerry Jordan kicking the tires at net. So that guy over there walked in here. So what was that roller coaster ride of being there and then Joey ruining that part of it?
Yeah. It was awesome beating the 5 and when he came across the line and I was like, ooh, we got a real shot at this. And then when Joey took the green, he was already like a half a car length ahead of me on the SMT, and we're like, oh, that sucks. But after, and you have a second to think about it, it's awesome that, Ford was able to sweep the front row and take brand new race cars, dark horses, and put them on the front row. I mean, I would much rather it be inverted, but that's okay. It's, like I said, it's a huge accomplishment for our race team to be on the front row for the Daytona 500 and not disappointed one bit, and feel, thankful, glad that we have so much speed down here.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Michael, it's been a very long time, so it's very different points in your career, but can you compare and contrast a decade ago? You came here and didn't make the race. Obviously, I know you won, but you're starting in the front row. Just qualifying, where how you look back at that moment.
Yeah. So I was telling some of my guys that are that are younger on the team, like I remember when we'd come down here and there'd be 60 cars, and making the race was like, when you made the race, it was literally, it made your year. It was such a big deal, for the team and financially and all the things that it did. It was such a big deal to make this race. So yeah, I've had the opportunity, if you want to call it that, to be on both sides of missing them by one spot, and getting in on the last lap, coming off of turn 4 and making it and feeling that excitement. And so yeah, there's it's a special place to come to Daytona, and then it was so hard to make the races. And but it's different now. It's definitely different, because then we were just so happy to make the race that we were like, Sunday, who cares about Sunday? We're in the race. And now it's not like that. Right now it's like, okay, this is a great accomplishment, but it's all about winning on Sunday. And so it's a different mindset. But to answer your question, it's great. It's amazing. I mean, it's been a long journey, and it's been a tough one, and a lot of years of not so much fun, hoping that one day you would have fast cars and shot at running well. And I know I said that before, but it's happening more consistently where we're having this conversation, and that's fun for me. It's fun to finally get to have that opportunity to be competitive week in and week out, and not just at certain places, but a lot of places. So this is the best time in my career. It really is. And, there was definitely plenty of years where it didn't look like I was on that trajectory. And so I'm very thankful that things have continued to get better. Yep.
All right. Thank you, Michael, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Owen Ray. Go. Yeah. All right, we are going to roll right into our next media availability. We are now joined by our Daytona 500 pole winner, Joey Logano, driver of the number 22 Team Penske Ford. If you have a question for Joey, please raise your hand. We will start right up here with Jake.
Jacob Silman, Race Face Digital. Joey, I think the obvious, how big is this for Ford as as a manufacturer, after basically a decade of bow ties kind of showing everybody the way on Wednesday night here in Daytona, for you guys to lock out the front row like this?
Yeah, it's about time, huh? It's a really special poll. This is something that, as a team, this poll is talked about more than any other racetrack we go to. And a lot of it's because you eliminate the variable of the driver. And I know I'm up here talking. I shouldn't be the one talking about it, because those guys are the ones that really gave me the race car I needed, to go fast. And, they massage on it, they work on it. This is a very, prideful pole to win for not just Team Penske and the 22 team, for Ford and for Roush Yates. And, when you see both those Fords in victory lane, you damn right you should beat your chest a little bit. So you should be very proud of. I was a lucky jockey that was behind the wheel, really. They got to drive that one today. So it's neat. Obviously, it's really cool to start on the front row, for the Daytona 500. Never done that before. Never been even close. So this is something really neat to be able to experience. And if you believe in momentum, I'd say over the last the Clash running really well, and then here coming out of the gates fast here today, the momentum is building back up. 22, which is nice.
Years past, maybe you look at the poll and it doesn't necessarily mean anything for Sunday because you can win from anywhere here. But given some of the challenges we've seen with the next gen as far as passing in the draft, is this a case where perhaps qualifying up front does mean a little bit more again because it's harder to make those moves?
I think it helps on some things. When other drivers see that you have a fast car, I really think that speedway racing is all about reputation. And if you have a fast car with a driver that understands the draft, cars will go with you more often. And, it makes you more confident to put this thing out in the wind. It's going to pull a lane. It's got the speed that you put it out front. It's going to tote the lane forward. That's what you want. And so as a driver, it puts you in a pretty good spot, when I got the team that I have behind me, with the spotter like Coleman, myself, understanding the draft really well. Our pit crew seems to be lights out right now in practice. Things are looking really good. So we just got to go out there and execute our job at this point. We all know how to do that, but we got a good bullet in the chamber right now to fire away and see what we got.
All right, we're going to go to Bob Pockris and then Lee Spencer.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. You don't seem to be a guy who would like to kind of lay back and just protect your car. So how do you approach tomorrow night?
Yeah, it was a 2-second conversation in victory lane a minute ago with Paul. So we're racing, right? Yeah. I said, okay. So the good thing is Paul and I both have the same approach to speedway racing, where we're going racing, and something happens, but it's not worth wrecking it. But you have the same attitude whether we qualified 5th or 15th. You don't want to go to your backup car no matter what you do. But I want to make sure my car's driving good. We got the new Dark Horse Mustang that obviously goes fast by itself, but we want to make sure it's tuned in right. I want to make sure I got everything out of it. So we'll go out there and be smart, but we're going racing. There's a trophy. There's 10 points. We're going racing.
Lee Spencer, catchfence.com. Given Doug Yates' power and your skill at this style of racing, you're not surprised that you finally won the pole here, are you?
Considering it's my 16th try, my expectations weren't really high today. But we've progressively gotten a little better at qualifying last year, and it seems like with the next gen car, there's I guess a little less tricks and things like that the other teams were able to do over the years that like really put them up there. So it seemed like that got a little closer. I do think Roush Yates' power thrives at speedway racing. It's probably their strongest point. So, yeah, I'd say this is kind of the wheelhouse. And with the new body, we didn't really know, right? I mean, it's kind of like hope we got it right. But obviously they had some speed here, and the field's so close, right? It's not. I mean, everybody's kind of right there. But yeah, it's nice to do it. I was a little surprised to answer your question. Yeah. But once we started going to the second round, and no one was really picking up a whole bunch outside the 34, I thought, man, we really do have a shot at this. So.
And your disappointment of last season has been well documented. Going out in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, you've said time and again. Did you guys kind of come into 2024 with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder? I mean, you feel like you got something to prove that you do deserve to be back on top.
A pretty tough team and an experienced team that's been around for a very long time at this point. I've been through, kind of down points in my career before. Doesn't make it hurt less when you're going through it. But I also know that a lot of times, more times than not, when we have a off year, the next year is pretty damn strong. And so I feel like, we can do that again. And that just shows the mental toughness from our whole team that we can, continue to stick together. We didn't change anybody on our team this year from last year. But I really think as a team, we grow, and, we got better and better towards the end of the year last year. Nobody sees that because you're not in the playoffs, right? But we were making gains, which is good. And then, you have a moment where it ends and the misery is over and you get a fresh start. That's where we're at now. It's what it's all about in life. Might be on my 3rd or 4th chance, but it's working pretty good.
All right, Jordan Bianchi.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. Was Chevy's pole streak something that Ford talked about a lot?
The whole sport talks about it, right? I mean, I had the TV on before we went and qualified, and I mean, that's what they're talking about on Fox was, what was it, 7 straight poles or, 7 years in a row that the 48 car was up there, and all this stuff. I'm like, geez, like some of those stats are unbelievable. Like you can't even I didn't realize all that was happening. I just got used to what it was, but I didn't think it was for that long. So, yeah, it's nice to be able to break their streak. I mean, it's something that it's an incredible run that they were on. Glad we finally caught up.
Do we have any final questions for Joey? We'll come right back up here to Jacob.
Joey, you look at the last now, I guess we're about 9 months here, going back to last May. Newgarden wins Indy. Blaney wins the Cup Championship. Roger just got the Rolex last month here. You're on the pole for the Daytona 500. It just feels like right now there's a lot of magic going on in that building. I mean, is that something where you guys are feeding off some of the other parts of the organization where each one gains momentum from the other, or is it just one of those things where you look at it and go, damn, this is pretty cool?
There's not a cooler race team that you can work for when it comes to just motorsports in general. Like, where else? There's not another motorsports team in America that is decorated as much as Team Penske and what Roger Penske has done. Whether it's in NASCAR, sports cars, Indy cars, I mean, you name it. The guy's been involved in all of it, and the one thing that's in common with all of it is he wins. And that's where I want to be because of that reason. The guy wins. He does it right. He's professional. There's no corners ever cut. And I think a lot of times we don't talk about it enough. I mean, maybe because I'm inside the company and I see how incredible it is. But it is something that is truly spectacular when you look at, the 58 years or so it's been, and the accolades that have been, produced in that place. It's just bonkers. So this is actually one of the first here today. Roger Penske's never gotten a Daytona 500 pole. So not very often that you can actually do something for the first time for the captain, but we were able to do that today, which is special. Don't get me wrong, it's really, really special. But it's an incredible place with great people and guys that all have the same mindset. They just want to win at all costs, want to win. But we're also going to do it in a very professional way because we're representing somebody that is probably the most professional person you've ever met. I talked to him in Victory Lane. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any final questions? All right. Thanks, Joey.
All right. Thanks, guys.